Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Ed and Julia, as usual, and for others listening. Um, this is our event, Seeing Opportunity in Devastation and sharing stories to inspire. Now, last week, Ed took us through a topic where it was, and I'm just going to summarize it because I know the summary, the recap that it does is so on point. So I'm just going to summarize it this way. It's really about, developing, maintaining, or nurturing key relationships and all stakeholder relationships to sustain the competitive advantage in your business. And there were quite a few practical things that Ed shared with us. So you're quite welcome to listen to the previous podcast. You can find it on our YouTube channel, Griffin Enterprise Development, or if you're on Clubhouse, you can just go listen to the playback, which is unedited. And so, with that playback, we apologize. It's unfiltered, underbridge, and but in the end, we still share the same nuggets. So, Ed, over to you, and looking forward to listen to what you have to us today.
Thanks, Jacques. Yes, we were talking about relationships and the importance of relationships to your bottom line. They're not just nice to haves, they have to haves. And there is priceless advantage that small businesses have, small and medium businesses, where they can be directly and importantly in contact with the customer, and they can get their individual views, and it's not through some kind of a AI chat box or something of that nature, um, where they can be in touch, where they understand who the person is and what they want. And those relationships can be built personally, one on one, by you and your staff. If you're a sole entrepreneur, photographer, coach, whatever, it's going to be by you. If you're running a much bigger business, it might be by your sales team, or it might be by your customer uh, support team. Um, but those one on one relationships are very important. And be very careful with your one-on-one relationships that they don't go down too low in the organization. There have been so many situations where the CEO of a business starts a relationship with a very large organization or a large organization, or maybe even a tiny organization, and then the two companies grow significantly. And as they grow, they delegate that relationship to lower hierarchy people. And eventually, the relationship might be being handled by a telesales clerk on the one side and a junior buyer on the other side. And that's the nature of the relationship between the two companies. And those two people know each other well. But that's not where the strategic sales are made. The strategic sales are made much higher up. And if you've dropped your contact at that level and delegated it down to low levels in your organization, you might suddenly find that tomorrow morning you don't have a customer. Some while ago, someone came to me to try and rescue a desperate situation. They had been the supplier to an organization for many, many years. They were the default supplier. They'd installed fantastically expensive technology in order to support that business. And they had what they believed, what they thought they had, was a very good relationship, but it was a junior relationship. And then suddenly they were told that they're not going to get any more orders. And there was no relationship anymore between the top level company. And after a while, they investigated. They found there'd been promotions and changes around in the senior levels in that company. And someone who was senior came in, looked at this, and said, we think we can get a better supplier. And they went and investigated the market, and they didn't ask you because they knew what you could do. And they went and investigated the market and they got a better offer. And suddenly, all that technology that this person had bought was piles of junk, very expensive technology and relatively new. And yeah, it was a devastating blow. Um, his only possible uh, success out of that is massive retrenchments and cut his business down to a tiny fragment, or use that technology to find another customer very quickly, um, or alternatively simply go out of business. And in the end result, I think that's what happened. And really, was that a failure of anything but relationships? Wasn't a failure of the technology, he had all the tech. Wasn't a failure of um, service delivery. They were apparently providing good service delivery, but the world had moved, and there were things on offer now which this company was able to offer, but hadn't offered to that customer because their relationship was at too junior a level. They had no senior connection. So the senior people in the customer, when the discussion reached them, and they said this is why they moved. They had these things that um, uh, that the supply company was not supplying them, and the supply company said, "But we got all those things, and we've told you about all of those things." And the senior executives in the customer just shrugged their shoulders and said, "We haven't heard you. I don't know who you told, but you didn't tell us." And we didn't ask you because we knew what you could offer us. And we assumed if you had better things that you would come and tell us about them. And you didn't. And the supplying company said, "But it's on our website and it's in our brochures and we've sent you emails." And the customer senior executives just rolled their eyes. They said, "Not our duty to find out what's in your product range. Your duty to tell us." And they lost that very large company and I believe eventually their business. Pure failure of relationships. What a tragedy that is. The second issue that I want to discuss is perseverance. Many years ago, I was in Hong Kong, and near the hotel where I was staying in was the famous David's shirt manufacturers. Ground floor of the Mandarin Hotel on Kowloon in Hong Kong. And I went into David's shirt makers, and they measured me and they made a file for me and they showed me sample fabrics, and they said come back in a day's time for a fitting, which I did. And then they said in a further day's time the parcel will be delivered to your hotel, which it was. And beautiful shirts they were. Oh, they lasted forever. They always looked crisp. They never looked like well used shirts, and I loved that. And then the end of that year, I got a Christmas card from them, which amused me because this was the days where people sent Christmas cards. And and then they sent me a polite letter saying, if you simply uh, give us an order, um, and we can send you fabric samples, and you can choose the textures and colors you want, and we'll make up more shirts for you. So I thought, oh, that was quite a cool idea, and I actually ordered some more shirts. And then next year, I got a Christmas card and a polite letter which said we're still available for you. And a year or two after that, a friend of mine was going to Hong Kong, so I asked him to pop in and speak to David Shirts, and I got a polite message from them to say, um, we know we last measured you about 5 years ago. Perhaps if you could just send us these measures, And I did. And they were aware that my one shoulder is slightly higher than the other. So these were tailored shirts. They continued to send those messages and that Christmas card for a further 10 years. And then they stopped the messages about ordering more and they simply sent a Christmas card for a further 10 years. Now, if I'd ever got back to Hong Kong in that period, I would have ordered more shirts. Certainly, a lot of people that I came into contact with who were traveling in that direction, I said to them, hey, you've got to go to David's and order some shirts. They are the best in the world. And David's shirts prospered for many, many years. I know they had a file on me where they could tell exactly my likes and dislikes, the colors I liked, the patterns I liked, whether I needed a shirt pocket or not, the sort of style of buttons that I liked, the sort of style of collars that were appropriate. They were brilliant. And they had this massive, massive trade, I think across about 60 or 70 countries. They eventually opened an office in America. Um, and they were a huge organization, although they looked like a very small organization, simply because they had this vast relationship with these thousands and thousands of people all around the world who are all ambassadors for David shirts. And it's always stuck with me that that was so simple that cost them almost no money. It was such an easy sell to do, and they kept me on the hook. And I'd originally gone in to buy some shirts more or less for fun, so I could boast that I had tailored shirts made. And then, they became my regular shirt maker. So they converted me from a one time customer into a many times customer and then continued to try and keep me as a customer for decades. What an illustration. What clever marketing is that? And how successful they were. Yeah. Giant organization. I don't think I could afford these shirts anymore with the state of the rand. But if I could, I would certainly be buying from them again. So that's the one end of the relationship issue. And the other end of the relationship issue is the use of technology. I was in a meeting last night and I saw a demonstration of the most fantastic bit of technology to engage an audience, whether it's virtual or online or hybrid event, to engage an audience in responding to a speech or a workshop where you could do much more than just poll the audience or take a vote on an issue. You could do fantastic abilities to produce things like uh, clouds, to produce all kinds of graphs coming from whatever was being responded to deal with free form responses and make sense out of them through a bit of AI. And it was really impressive technology. So it worked live. So there was a speaker on the stage who was able to very easily use one of these tools and then pick up the responses on screen and automatically show them back to the audience as responses came in. And the audience simply responded on their cell phones or their connected PCs or wherever, as did the as did the remote audience. And so there was a very clever use of technology to build relationships. It also meant that the speaker then had a direct connection with each individual listening to them. And so they were able to message and market to those individuals that had attended. And so the speaker then didn't have a one off event where everyone went home and said, wow, that was fantastic. They had a marketing tool that they could use for the future. And just by attending this seminar, I'm a part of that network of that particular speaker. Wonderful stuff. And there is so much technology around now that we could be using and probably should be using. And we tend to shy away from it because it takes a lot of time to learn all the new tech that's around. But from time to time, it's worth doing the search or getting some technical gurus in to tell you what's available in the technology space to deal with relationships issues. And there are so many wonderful ones. So that's another way to hook up. And then perhaps we can spend a few minutes on talking about what you should not be doing, because you can do dreadful damage to relationships by doing the wrong things. And the first wrong thing that you can do is to go remote. To go remote or to disbelieve. So a lot of small businesses find that they're very, very busy. That's normal for entrepreneurs. They live very busy lives, and they work often very long hours and lots of days in the week. And they find it distracting to have customers talking to them. How sad when doing the internal work that entrepreneurs do takes precedence over customer relationships. Now, I'm not suggesting that the entrepreneur must answer every phone call. That's not the purpose of this one. But if you make it very, very difficult for customers to talk to you or anyone senior in your organization, then you are putting up a barrier between you and the people who are pouring money into your bank account. And I always sort of think about the logic of that. That a customer is pouring money into your bank account and you're treating him as a hostile. That doesn't make sense. That just does not make any kind of sense at all. Yes, there are customers who we would all rather have, and probably we've all fired customers from time to time. There are customers who really are painful and you really don't want to deal with. But then my answer to that is, if the customer is that painful and you can't get to the source of their pain, if it's simply their personality, then get rid of them. Go find a different customer. Or look carefully at what they're saying. They might be perfectly justified, not simply painful. That's the other thing that you should not do on relationships, is disbelieve everyone automatically. And we've all seen this. As soon as you challenge something that's happened in an organization, they will immediately go on the defensive and tell you it's your fault. My least favorite saying, my least favorite response to a complaint is, "Oh, nobody else has complained about that." Now, just translate that one in your mind. What does that mean? What are they saying? They're saying, I am wrong to be complaining. I actually don't like being told I'm wrong when I have a complaint, unless there's some provable reason that I am wrong. Simply being the only one who complained is not that proof. And so if that comes back to me, ooh, then I go on the warpath. Then I get really, really angry. And I'm sure a lot of other people do the same. And that's perhaps because of that level of treatment, is why nobody else is complaining, because they don't get listened to. And then the company thinks that they're doing well and they have good relationships with everyone until the business starts drying up and everyone goes away. So don't make yourself remote. The people giving you money are more important than pretty well anything in your business. Any technology, any purchasing, any processing that you have to do, any process management you have to do, they can't be as important as the people giving you money. The other very bad thing that you can do is to set up a business which has a high rate of churn. In other words, customers come and they go, and they come and they go. Some businesses are actually designed to do that. They're designed to roll in customers who then get dissatisfied and leave, but the business is so geared that it rolls in at least the same number of new customers for every customer that exits, every group of customers that exits. And that business is hard to sustain. It's almost impossible to grow, but it can be sustained by the personality of the owner over often a very lengthy period of time. But in the end result, the business just does not deliver on its promises. And so people move in, they experience your goods or services, they realize that that's not what they were told, that was not what the demonstration showed, and they exit. And then you have to get replacement customers all the time. So if you're having a high rate of churn, you might be doing this strategically. That might be your business model. And if it is, well, good luck to you. I would like to run a business like that, but if that's what grabs you, then by all means. But if it's not your intent and you have a high rate of churn, a high number of new customers coming in, but old customers exiting, then your business can be headed for a very sharp downturn. Most businesses that I speak to don't know their rate of churn. How many customers have you right now? How many have you lost this year? How many have you gained this year to date? Most businesses can't answer that question, and I don't understand why. There's some question about what's a lost customer, because the customer might just have gone quiet for a while, or they might be very irregular buyers who only buy from you every 6 months. But a little bit of analysis, even some technology that can analyze that, could sort that kind of problem out. And then for the ones who haven't bought for a long time, a communication to them to say, we haven't seen you for a while. Is there a reason? Be prepared for some very, very angry responses to that sort of request. Uh, so many people have had the experience that they've been trying to talk to you, your business, for an extended period of time, haven't been able to make themselves heard, and then leave. And then they get a sweetness and light communication which says, we haven't heard from you for a while. Is there something that we can do? How are you doing? Is there something we can be of assistance to you with? And you're liable to get a voluminous and very angry reply telling you exactly what went wrong. Everyone's experienced it. When you come to the end of a business, then the people talk to you, whereas they haven't talked to you at all along the line. Bit like every election. It's the only time you see a politician just before the next election. So churn, be very, very careful of. Be very careful of overuse of technology. Technology can be a wonderful assist in customer relationship, but it can also be one of those barriers that puts a block between you and the people who are paying money into your bank account, especially with these automated call centers and where you're unable to get to a person without enormous difficulty to address a problem. I just had one of those this morning. And finally, I threw up my hands and I said, I can't do this. I went to an agent who works in this field and I said, I'll pay you money to solve this problem because I just couldn't do it. But I was so angry that there were so many roadblocks in the way of a simple issue that I couldn't address the end result. And yeah, at some stage, maybe I won't be a customer of that organization anymore. So, just to summarize, relationships, perseverance is one thing, technology is another. Personal relationships are good, but technology can do a lot towards helping you. Um, if you can set up your business where you have regular relationships with your customers, They can become your ambassadors. And even if they're not buying themselves, they can sell a lot for you. It's a very low cost form of the best marketing in the world, generating um, generating word of mouth. And then the things not to do are to be remote or to automatically disbelieve, go on the defensive of customers. Really listen to customers. In the end result, your business bank account would be empty without them. And that would make it kind of hard to run your business. Be careful of technology and know your rate of churn. And especially if there's a change in that rate of churn increasing, be very, very afraid. Start doing something urgently. So, a little bit more on relationships. You know, we can go on relationships for a very, very long time. But next session, I want to talk about the effect of price on relationships. So that's something for people to look forward to.
Oh, thank you, Ed. Uh, I'm still scribbling notes. Um, yeah, so much to say, and you know you summarized it well, so I don't have to do that at all. Um, I was just thinking, next action is when you actually now follow your advice and you go and discover what your churn rate is and go find those customers. Especially, we spoke about paying attention to once off or first off customers and turning them into repeat customers. But if there's a drop off, and within our current economy, there's all kinds of reasons for that. And I just thought that on a soft issue side, is sometimes it's delegating the task to different people to find out why you didn't get the sale. Because I think as people we still, as you said, we still become very defensive. When we get either critique or feedback that we don't like, and so we do the one thing is we follow the avoidance principle, but rather to embrace it, to want to know, and to take it from a point of view that feedback is really the breakfast of champions, of people who want to continually grow their businesses despite what circumstances we find ourselves in. And so, yeah, my summary, just so that I can remember, is with this relationship marketing approach, is that the key to effective relationship management that builds and grows your bottom line is balance high touch with the support of technology. And yeah, it's certainly there. So thank you. Lots of food for thought, and I look forward to finding out exactly what you have to share in terms of how price affects, or price and relationship, how they coexist. Because that's another thing that I can think of, a variety of things that we try to avoid sometimes, is talking about price necessarily. Um, as far as relationships are concerned, easier to talk about price to somebody you don't really know, and which might lead to once off relationships or first of relationships that you never develop. So Ed, any last words?
Yeah, no, I think you've said it well there, Jacques. Um, customer relationships is marketing. It is the lifeblood of your business. It is sales. Get it right.
Yep.
No sense in going to spend millions on marketing campaigns when you can spend thousands on keeping your customers and keeping them, bringing in more customers.
Yes. And I mean that's the key. So wonderful. Well, everybody, next week, same time, 4 o'clock, and it's about um, taking the tips from Ed and applying them. As usual, I'm going to say, well, if nothing changes, it's because you're not making the necessary changes in your business, one micro step at a time. Remember, small moves, big changes. So, Ed, until next time, and thank you for those
Hmm.
listening. Have a good week.
I'll see you next week.
See
Cheers.
you next week. Bye.